I'm a strategist and actually worked in strategic consulting, and even now I earn my living by consulting industrial companies, new product development, new concepts, new modernization of their business and so on. And about 12 to 15 years ago I worked for the President administration as head of one of the departments, and I saw that all the managerial tools, machinery that I know from Europe, Asia or United States cannot solve the problems of the Russian economy that I see. And I decided to invent, to engineer some new tools that can solve the problem. And here I was perplexed at describing why Russians are different. Because in my book, maybe sometimes you will read it, called Digital Communism, I wrote that Russians know everything: quantum mechanics, geopolitics, all kinds of things, everything about space. The only thing they do not know anything is about their own behavior. It's not documented, it has no theory. The only theory is that we are not very good Europeans. Third tier Europeans that cannot reach these ideals and so on. And I told my friends, my clients, that it's not a good theory. Why? Because if we support this, then we lost the competition, because we are trying for 200 or 300 years to achieve this height and no result. But if we will look at the Russian history, at our territory, we're not looking like losers. We usually beat the biggest guys and the best guys in the world. And this directed me to the thought that maybe I need a new hypothesis. I don't say that the old one, that the world is going in one direction and Europeans and United States are the leaders of this direction. It's a good one. Everybody share it. Can I suggest another concept, hypothesis? And this, the understanding was that superpowers like Russia, they cannot compete by the rules of other superpowers. Because when I ask students, how you decide who's more competitive? And they say, Sergey, my teacher says, also, you always need a higher authority who decides you're competitive or not. But if you are a global superpower, how can you let other superpowers decide you are competitive or not? Can you imagine a superpower that tells another superpower, you are so competitive, I'm so happy about you. I want to play by your rules. By your rules. And then I said that what China did, broken all the rules. No intellectual property rights, government sector price dumping. What, they were punished? No. No. And that's why when it started to be a superpower, to find your way, you need to understand what rules are comfortable for you, and are you ready to play by this rule? Why cultural codes? I don't know if there is somewhere a theory about cultural codes, because very often in Russia people ask, Sergey, whose works you are attributing to your conclusions? My own. Or people say, Sergey, where do you get all these theories and lectures? Where BMW gets its cars? It's not buying it from Toyota, it's making them. That's why people who believe they can think they produce things. You may like it or not, but I'm not buying ideas from other producers. I'm producing myself. Cultural codes. Similar to machine codes and programming, cultural codes are deep-rooted, fundamental units of cognitive strategies, which serve as building blocks for creating advanced cultural structures, such as politics, economics, law, education, etc. I'm saying that maybe, it's not proven, maybe in civilizations, in superpowers, which means big and able to maintain the full package of technologies, military, financial, technological, demographic, and so on, to be big and complex. The culture is not these pieces of art that you can see in museum. Culture is kind of program, let's say so, that is distributed among people like machine codes. And as a computer doesn't know that he works with a 0 and 1, we also may not know that we are working on a special code. And if I will be able to find out this code, maybe I will be able to write a new program for the computer. Or find some mistakes in other programs. Why I call them cognitive strategies? Why I use them? I believe that people can interpret information, time and space continuum, and other very abstract things the same way, irrespective of their age, gender, knowledge level, and business success. And I say that cultural codes do not change with socio-economic regimes and technology waves, stay stable for centuries. I will say that though our contemporary Russians are very different from the Russians from 500 years ago, maybe cultural codes haven't changed. Because you will see that all the modern software from Apple or from Google is based on the machine codes written in the 40s. Nobody changed the machine codes. Only the higher levels of programming changing. The basic codes never change. It's very difficult to change the codes. Are shaped by the absolute majority of the population irrespective of age, gender, education, and so on. Because what other people tell me, we are more educated, that's why we have another culture. These people earn more, they have another. I was looking for codes that people of the same civilization share and maybe even do not understand why it's happening. And because it's beyond their recognition, they cannot see it as a pattern. That's why I was interested in Russian patterns. The same thing because my company is called Semansis, which means system semantics. I developed a kind of, let's say, science or methodology which is called system semantics. And in system semantics we build taxonomies. I built taxonomies of seven levels of complexity. And I say, if we are managing something, the simplest level is object. You can move object with one hand. When there will be 15 or 20 objects, you will have to start a project because you have only 2 arms and so many objects. You will engineer some program when you first move this chair, then that chair, then go there, and so on. When you have 1,000 or 5,000 chairs, you will start a program because it's very complicated, and that much chairs can be in a conference hall or in a theater, and then you will have to understand why so many people came there, understand logistics. Strategy, the first level, when you don't have all the resources. You need strategy because you understand that somebody competing with you will try to put his chairs in this conference room. And then you create a strategy. Policy. Policy means that different people, different corporations, different countries compete with their strategies. And for you to enclose a number of countries and a number of corporations, you need politics to rule the strategy. Politics has a vision of competing strategies but cooperating in politics. Culture, that's cultural codes. We mean that irrespective of politics, all of them should be governed by some kind of values. What is in Greece is called axiology, science about values. That very often your politics is based on the values. You may not even imagine what kind of values. And philosophy or ontology is your understanding of the world on the basis of which you build culture, on the basis of which you build policy, and so on and so forth. Why I was doing it? My country said that in objects we are not competitive. The world produces so many beautiful and wonderful objects which we don't have. In projects, we are not very good, maybe only in the military or military-industrial complex we are more or less good. In programs, even in strategy, we are not very good. Our policy, even policy, you will see that Russians do not have a national idea so far. Culture. Culture was the first thing that I can use as a basis for new competition. Why? Because culture cannot be changed by political parties. They don't see it. Cannot be changed by the income of people. Cannot be changed by the different objects they are using. And the understanding is that, yes, and there is another pyramid turned over. The more capital things you have, the less intellect you need. Why you need to create something new if you have so many beautiful objects, beautiful corporations and so on? And we decided that we need, in order to compete here, we need to create something absolutely new that will allow us to compete in all these layers. And I call it management by cultural codes. The first part of my hypothesis. There are different states of matter. Well, some say there are 4 states and so on. In system semantics, 3 is enough. Gas, liquid, and crystal. And I usually ask people, do I understand it correctly that though here are crystals, elements, liquid or gas, they all consist of 3 same particles: electron, neutron, and proton. They say, Sergey, what are you meaning? I'm meaning, if we say that people in all nations are absolutely the same individually, which here is neutron, proton, and electron, nevertheless, in combination, then they can give substances with absolutely opposite features. They say, yes, in chemistry, absolutely. But I say, what do you mean in chemistry? Does God created chemistry different from economy, from politics? Yeah? God was creating one rule for chemistry, the other rule for biology. Yes? They say, maybe you're right. Let's suppose that I'm right. The same thing, for example, with colors. you have 16 million colors, but all of them can be reduced to RGB. The basic colors, RGB, make the boundaries in which means that even if we have basically the same kind of people, which are biologically or psychologically absolutely alike, when we form cultures, countries, or superpowers, the result can be very different. Predefined regular connections, low grade of freedom. Looks like European. If I will ask you to describe European culture, German or Anglo-Saxon, you will say, Sergey, everything is regular, strict, well thought, connected to each other. Oh, yes, a very low grade of freedom. Because when you'll discuss crystal structures, you'll say that only some movement of this particle, because this regular connections does not allow a lot of freedom. Russians look like gas. Look like gas. Everybody is moving in the direction he wants. Very flexible. Highest degree of freedom. I talk to physicians, physicists, and they say, Sergey, yes, but you don't understand the word freedom. Why you use freedom in politics and freedom in physics in the same way? Because I'm stupid. Degree of freedom, yes. I also, from my birthday, I believe that in Russia, more freedom than in Russia, I can't imagine. Yeah, sometimes it's disastrous. It's not very profitable. But don't tell me about freedom. You don't know even what it means. Also the funny thing when you talk about gases, usually you say that they take all the volume they can get. Look at the territory. Look at the territory. I'm kidding, of course, but when one of my Russian counterparts, who is a pro-Western thinker, I'd say, Sergey, how you can describe Russia in your, the only superpower who launched people in space and created nuclear weapons with a density of population of 8 people per square kilometer. Other nations who did that had at least 350 people per square kilometer. Yes, we are superpower with a low density of population. Then I took water and 3 different states of water, and I ask you which one of them is wrong or right. That's it. It's important, because when you will see Russians crossing the street in any place he wants, going when the red light is flashing or something, you will say it's wrong. And I was saying that for some time in my life, because my father is a Germanist, and he believes that all the Germans do is the best in the world. And he told me in some 80s, Sergey, 12 at night, I'm in Berlin, no traffic, red light, and people standing and not crossing the street. And at the time, yes, what a culture. And then, 20 years later, I speak 3 European languages, I have 3 higher educations, I earn much more than these people. But I feel that I need to cross the red line. I am a very cultured person. Why I have this internal drive to cross it? And I'll try to answer it later. What I'm trying to say that we judge something as right or wrong in context of environment. When you do something in a low uncertainty environment, this kind of structure is very good. Why? It's durable, but when it starts changing quickly, you will understand that, for example, railway created like this. You build one way for 10 or 15 years this railway station, and it will get you at the same time, at the same point. But if you need some other destination, for example, markets are changing, technologies are changing, you will see that the most inflexible transport technology is railway. Because even if you need a few kilometers aside, you will have to build this road anew. And for example, in a helicopter or in a car, you just need to move. Medium uncertainty is liquid when you have this culture of adjusting yourself to changes and so on. And high uncertainty is gas. If you need to go in every direction at the same time, if you are not afraid of destroying constructions, cultural, political, or financial, that you have been nourishing for 400 years, and say with why Russians, you believe that they, in this new innovation competition, will win. Because we're never afraid to break the old one. In the 20th century, we 3 times changed the name of the country, type of political regime, and never stopped being Russians. Why? Try Anglo-Saxons to tell them that the 400 years they stupidly built something wrong. They will die the next day because their crystal structures that are built 400 years ago they were right, 300 years ago they were right, 200 years ago they cannot even imagine a situation they are not right. Huh? We will believe that 5 minutes ago we were wrong, 100 years ago we were wrong, 500 years ago we were wrong, and we can change everything. It costs us nothing. Why? We're gas. And I said, do not judge some matter by the state of this matter, because if you need to sit on something, the crystal structure is very good. If you need to drink, crystal structures are not very good for your throat. If you need to breathe, you use gas, because it will not damage your channels in your head. It's very difficult to breathe water or to breathe crystal structures. And then I say that there are different states of matter. And maybe I can imagine that cultures of different civilizations or superpowers also represent different states of the same matter. And then I say Anglo-Saxons, regular, structured, linear, cause-effect. And I say, here's a very bad monolectic. Why? If you are monolectic, you're either priest or scientist, and a fish talks to you. As a priest, you say, Jesus Christ, it's devil. I'm child. It's a problem. I need to run to the church and to pray to God because it's. If you're a scientist, you say this. I'm delirious. Why? Fish does not have voice. They didn't have all the apparatus of pronouncing words. It's impossible. That means I'm ill. I need to go to the doctor to help me. Dialectic should be interested in how much this fish costs. Oh, the speaking fish is much more valuable than this one. Shall I bring it alive to the market or cooked? Which will be it? Or if he's military, can I use this fish to overhear the secrets of another state and so on? And when the fish asked the guy what he wants for a living here, he said, oh, will you help me that these buckets go home themselves with? He did. Geek. Why? He could ask for a palace for which a dialectic will. He asked for the. Why? Because the people that try electives, they care about not value but usefulness. The dialectics, they need value, usefulness, and you will see that a lot of inventors never became businessmen. Why? He created it because it was very useful. And that's why when they say, Sergey, we believe that businessmen create inventions, I say, in my theory, no. They can commercialize it, they can sell it, but not create. Because creating it, nobody wanted to sell it before. And why I call him trialectic? Achieved what was impossible. That's interesting, yes? Why? Notice what nobody else noticed. The fish speaks. My client says, Sergey, what do you mean? I mean that sometimes the new innovations around you, it's already laid on your table, but you cannot see it. Not to get crazy about fish speaking to you, it's very open-mindedness. You need extreme open-mindedness. Fish is talking to me. And when fish asks you for something, what you do? The open-minded guy says, okay, bring Babeck's back to the... Why you didn't say, Jesus, tell me how the world was created. Give me the superpower. No, then you will not be a trialectic, because you will be confined by profit, by sacred truth or something. You need to be absolutely open-minded. Communicated with what nobody else can imagine too. Everybody likes Google or some other kind of thing. Why nobody did it before this guy? Because it was impossible. Don't you know it's impossible to control 9 billion sites and in a second find something in this site? So it's impossible, everybody knows that. And usually what I say that 10 or 15 years before the Wright brothers created this airplane, the Academy of Science of Great Britain decided for the last time in the world that objects heavier than air cannot fly. Thanks God that inventors do not know this or believe this is sacred truth. And usually you'll see that scientists, after they went into the air, started to discuss how it can be explained. That's why I usually say that scientists are not innovators, because they so believe in the previous truth that in physics, one guy told me, Sergey, I believe in physics because usually there is one true concept. If we have a new concept, we destroy the previous one. And still do it. If I will see that we have two different concepts for electricity, for something, I will go away from the science because I love it for its absolute truth. Ask for resources from someone impossible. In invention, you use as a source, as a resource, something that nobody believed in. For example, if you need to create a lot of video content, you create a TV company, and a production company, and a Hollywood, and make 100 films a year. But when you need a YouTube, you attract 100 million people who are posting their clips there. And you have more content that was created for all the history of humankind. Yes, why? Nobody saw them as a resource for content. Okay, Yemen and Lazy Bones. The second story is about the Tsar. The king asked him to come to his palace. The geek, Lazy Bones, wanted to go there, but he had no transport. Then why he asked his stove, on which he was lying, to go there to bring him to the Tsar. He's bad monolectic because he believes what's not true. because the stove has no fuel, has no wheels, and absolutely understandably cannot move. He's a bad dialectic because if he will understand that the stove can move, he should have solved this technology as a transport to the general, because of course Tsar asked the general to bring this guy, because Russian lazy bones will not come even if president or general secretary or Tsar calls him. Only if you bring general with a lot of military guys, then he goes to the Tsar. Also, when he found out that the stove can move, he should put a machine gun or some artillery on top of it and sell it as a tank. He's not interested. Got an order to come to the boss. Agreed without having any transport. It's also very important in Russian culture. The Tsar doesn't care you have resources or not. And the geek doesn't care about the resources. Why? Somehow we'll find resources. You say, Sergey, but you are talking about modern economy. Yes, and Google was not created by a huge corporation. And Apple Computers was not created by a huge corporation. And you will see this innovator's dilemma that huge innovators are, huge corporations are the last chance, have the lowest chance of creating something new. Then why speak that much about resources? Inventors always make something which nobody believed is a resource. Used as a transport, what couldn't be used as such. And what Russians, I believe, are good, because they are lazy or not very strictly minded, they have to invent some new solution because they don't have the understandable resources. Why? Because living at the stove takes time and a lot of energy. It's very difficult to lay at the stove. Okay. Russian cultural codes, Yemen innovator. Absolutely open-minded. Fish can talk, stove can drive. What kind of innovation I can? For example, when you have this 3D or 4D printing, you create some structure with 3D printing, and then when it's heated or connected to electricity, it can change its form. Nobody before wanted to use this shape memory materials and all the other kind of things. Inventors, they can invent or imagine some new attribute of material, construction, and so on that nobody before that thought of. But it's important. But what should I have written in a fairy tale 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago? That when you will want to fly, don't make helicopters from wood. Yeah? Of course, in a fairy tale, as I believe, to the next generations, you deliver some indirect, non-linear explanation. Because why it's so important for a country to say for 500 years, 1,000 years, a fairy tale, where lazy bones Yemen talks to the Tsar, executes all his orders with absolutely geek culture, with no profit for himself, with no resources, and so on. Sees a solution where nobody sees it. Uses as a resource what nobody considers as a resource. And you will see that in crystallic structure, when everything is predetermined, where all the connections are made, how you can look at something and decide to include it in your tools, in your tools kit, in your instrumentary, if everybody knows that this is not a resource. You should be a geek. You should be a maverick. You need mavericks. That's why this geekology sites also. But wow, we have a nation of geeks. Find solutions that demand minimum additional advanced resources. That is important. Why? You will see that the competition of the United States and Soviet Union was the competition of a country with abundant, sophisticated resources. Because after World War II, America got 85% of all gold in the world. They had about 65% of global GDP, now just 20. And they got immigrants from all over Europe, and all best engineers and scientists gave them for free. And Soviet Union had to compete with the well-organized, not defeated or distracted economy, and so on. And usually this is another fairy tale, Russian space pen. It's a real history, you know that, maybe, yes? And usually Russians prefer to laugh at the American story. But I said, no. I'm not criticizing it. I show you two huge cultures, very efficient. Here, the guy, an interpreter, used $2 million of his own money in 1959, something like that. $2 million is like $50 million now. He had the money and he spent it in allowing the ink to go with no gravity and to use it right. It was bought by NASA for $20 million. He 10 times increased his investment. An absolutely American story. And they spared a lot of effort and engineering and so on, and it was a huge victory. And I really believe that you, but when you don't have those resources of investment, say, but do we believe that in gravity this power of resistance still works? Maybe we take pencil. And I'm not saying that this is good, this is wrong, or vice versa. Both cultures solve the problem and use their cultural codes. And you will see that American military strategy also said that we will have the most expensive, the most sophisticated weaponry in the world, so that our soldiers will dominate any rival by 10 times. But what you will see now, new aircraft carrier costs $17 billion. A new fighter costs about $400 million per one, and so on. This year they changed their strategy for the first time and said that the next decade or two, America will not be able to produce at any cost machinery that is much more sophisticated than those of the adversary. And Russia has 10 times smaller GDP and also the same weaponry. Okay, Fedor the Ranger. The most important thing here, also very Russian story, the Tsar wanted his wife. She was very beautiful, very sophisticated, and usually the Tsar wants his wife. But it's some kind of it, not very cultural, not very European, to kill him. Then he gives him some orders that cannot be fulfilled. And 2 or 3 times he tries to do that, but because his wife is very intelligent, she solves all the problems. And finally he uses the dark powers to consult him what order cannot be executed. And it sounds like this. Go there, do not know where. Bring that, do not know what. The war cannot ever be. Yes! Yes, finally! Finally they give him. And when someone asked if I work with Skolkova, I said that actually, at the gates of an innovation center, this should be written. Because innovation is this. Go, don't know where, and get know that what cannot ever be. And I say, wow, Russian fairy tales prepared us for the innovation epoch. 100 years before it started, we always knew this. Yeah? And actually, that monolithic, he believes in what's not true. He doesn't kill him, he didn't run away. Why? It's an order. We'll try to fulfill it. Why? You are open-minded, and because you never care about resources, you say, okay, we'll find resources while moving. Everything can happen.
It's about our program.
Yes, yes. And we're very good at it. If you have planned your program for 10 years and got a lot of money, you will fail. Why? Because we're not like this. When we start moving and doing some things, they somehow get connected. That dialectic got no personal profit from all these orders fulfilled. He got no profit and achieved what was impossible. These fairy tales will not be interesting for me if this guy will lose the situation. But all the time he wins. And that means he's not an idiot, he is a geek. He is absolutely non-regular. Everybody knows that we build very bad cars. Why? Because every mass product, we're not very good in final quality, in finishing goods. Well, we are very good in creating something nobody can believe it. Yes? You want 10 jet engines, a flying boat, airplane, no problem. We'll give you 2. One for you and one for your friends, so it'll be fun. Doesn't matter that nobody knows how to build it or to do it, and you will believe that the guy who created this thing, from time to time he was rewarded, and from time to time he was sent in exile. Why? Because of the Russians all the time. When he created first this airfoil, hydrofoil boat, with this, when it goes up the water with the wind foils that is underwater. You may know. For Russians it's raketa, kometa, this fast-moving boats. After that, he created them in the 60s. And the minister of the industry didn't allow him to show this boat to the general secretary of the party, to the president or the czar of the time. But the geek, he will not be the geek. He took the boat from Nizhny Novgorod, drove it to the Luzhniki, and when the president was opening this Luzhniki stadium, he flew by and said, wow, good? And he said, very good, into mass production. Then why he created this thing? Of course, the minister was smarter and didn't allow him to show this boat to the Tsar. Which means in Russia, geek is responsible, not the Tsar, not the general, not the merchant, are responsible for getting things done. The geek is responsible. And the more he is the geek, the better is the result. Okay. Another very interesting thing for me, usually here, girls are laughing. The best women go to the innovator, the geek, not to the Tsar, not to the general or the merchant. It's in European or Anglo-Saxon stories, the richest, the smartest, the most fashionable guy gets the best women. In Russia, this geek living somewhere in country, in small cottage, he usually gets a girl who is magic, who is very intelligent and very beautiful. That's why the Tsar has to come to the gig to somehow steal his wife. Why? She is not interested in the Tsar. She is not interested in the merchant and the general. Why? This gig is so creative. And you will see that all the time they say about Russian women, why don't you go to this rich guy? This is very creative guy. I love him. He's so imaginative. Okay. Yes, minimal additional resources. Maybe you have seen this. Yes, this is a car, a crossover that went underwater in winter. Of course, you need to be Russian to go to the lake on your crossover. Why not? You're open-minded. And you don't have sophisticated machinery to get it up. Женя, а звук сделай мне, пожалуйста, да, а то у меня сейчас видео без звука пойдет. Something sophisticated. No robots, no cybernetics, huh? Oh, in about 5 minutes, I thought it took about half an hour for them. They will get it out with no execute their decision. You do not make decisions. Decisions are made for you. You just obey them. With Russians, he moves because he makes the decision. You say, but I can see that there is no traffic, I can run. But the government believes you cannot. The governments are sitting 1,000 kilometers away from this point. I see better. More than that, I'm responsible for my life. I cannot deliver this responsibility to the government. I don't know these people. They are not my relatives. They don't care about me. Why should I follow their orders? Because it's a very sophisticated, well-thought decision. You sure of it? In my history, I never thought very good decisions from the government. Then I run myself. And it's a good natural selection. You know? The stupid will die, and the smart guy will marry and so on. But they say, Sergei, but Russians have president. Russians have government. They have constitution. We have traffic rules. Yes, because Russians, when they had to mimic European culture, of course they created all this shit. We're a modern society. This shit should be. Well, we don't have constitution. Rules are stupid. But actually, Russians never deliver this to the government, delegate these powers. Never. You say, you voted for the president, you voted for the constitution. Yes. Why you take decision on your own? I never promised him that I will obey all the time. Sorry. And Russian, even very sophisticated ones, do not believe me. They really believe that they fulfill all the orders and so on. What means self-acting people? Because spontaneous, as I say in Greek, is called no cause, when you cannot see the connection between the cause and the result, and also self-active. And I say that Russian people are people who are individually decide for themselves what is better. And red light crossing, I decide myself when I cross. You say, Sergei, it's not good. Maybe you're right, but I'm saying that every Russian, stupid or very intelligent, very rich or very poor, man or woman, decides for himself. If you ask them why they do, they will not tell you. Say, Sergei, no, it was a specific situation. I was thinking that, but you won't do that from your birth. I know you all, you are absolutely different, you behave the same. There is some cultural code inside you. Creative text pain. I read a story that an Italian guy hanged himself before tax police in Italy because he couldn't pay taxes. I cannot imagine a Russian who kills himself because he cannot pay taxes. It's impossible. You cannot pay, don't pay. Oh, they will catch you. We will. You don't know how I can hide. I have a lot of friends, parents, and the police guy who will come to me will share some tax and everything will be okay. Official arbitrariness. These guys who rule the government or the city and so on, some of them are very sophisticated. They have a European education and so on. And he actually decided himself what's better for you. And a lot of Russians you will talk to, they will also always pronounce one saying, Sergey, if they gave me the power to do this, I would have done this right. And yes, but this guy who rules now, he also 10 years ago said the same thing. And actually, he did what he believed is best. It doesn't suit a million people, but who cares? And when you will come there, you will behave the same way. Why? Because you decide what's bad. You, well, with your natural behavior, do not come to power. There you need another type of behavior. Bribes and bribery. I decide myself how to remunerate myself. In the Soviet Union, the worker of any enterprise took spare parts or some materials from his plant to his home. Why? Because he was not well remunerated. He believes that he needs more, and he took that, but it's bribery, it's theft. No, I remunerated myself. And what I'm saying, Russians always co-own your process. What does it mean? And one guy from Pakistan, after this lecture, he says, Sergey, I have a company in Russia for 10 years already. Now I understand what my people, what my staff demands from me. Go on, what does it mean? If you have a car and try to park here at the university, you will see that there is a stick and you are not allowed to. But if you will negotiate with the guard, he will allow. And they say, Sergey, isn't it wrong? No. Why? Because the director of the university, he runs the university. And this guy is owner of this stick. No, of course you didn't delegate him the power. But it doesn't matter, he co-owns the process. And that's why a policeman who needs to punish you for not paying taxes also can make decision not to punish you. Why? You are a good guy, I've seen your family. But it's not right. It's not right in that crystal clear, strictly minded concept. In this concept, we all have the right to decide for ourselves. Yes, sometimes it's very disastrous. Sometimes it's not very efficient in production. But in all other cases, it can be very efficient. And what I'm saying, on the one side, if they do not co-own your process, you will see that Russians lazy bones, they can take something home from you or take bribes. But if they co-own and believe in your project, you will see that German generals saw it as mysterious that 4 guys with a cannon fought for 2 days with a battalion of Germans when their division, their battalion went away. But they decided to die at that point. Why? They decide from themselves. They decide from them, they co-own the process. They believe that they invest their life in the process. You will see that a lot of people working with Korolev, our space rocket major engineer, and other people, they worked sometimes for months without holidays. They sometimes didn't go home to their wives. Why? They co-own the process. They believe that they are putting this guy into space. And they invested all their time and force without asking for profit. But we don't have this as a theory. We say, you know, there are good Russians that work that hard and fantastically and give these results the first guy in space, and there are bad Russians who are lazy, lying on the stove and taking bribes for this tech. No, they are the same. They co-own the process. If they do not believe in your promises, then you can pay whatever you want. They will never do it. Okay, Russian cultural code decision making. Russian never really delegates the right to make decisions either to directors or government. My clients, for example, hire me as a consultant. I come to them, a lot of respect, a lot of money. When I start saying what I believe in and what are my conclusions, they say, Sergey, you don't understand, and try to persuade me that they believe. Why you hired me? You delegated to me the decision. I'm the consultant. You paid a lot of money. I am famous and established in this world. Why are you not listening to me? Sergey, I need to tell you that you're wrong. Why pay me money if I'm wrong? Take another consultant. Why? He even cannot delegate me the right to consult, though he paid the money. If he ever delegates somebody this right, and this can be to the guy he believes in, to the president, to the general director, engineer, inventor, he can revoke it any moment. Russian elite behaves in a vulgar way as common people. What I say here, elite in any country behave counterintuitive, which means if everybody is not organized, elite is organized. If nobody cares about experts' opinion, elite cares about experts' opinion. But in Russia, especially in the last 2 or 3 decades, you will say that elite wants the people to not break the traffic rules. They sign an order, very strict. After that, they put some lamp on their car and break all the rules. Then why? I wrote the order. They should. Russians never do something that the Tsar is not doing. And it's a very big problem that I'm trying to solve, that the elite is not the rich people. Elite is the people that think differently from average people and can instill this culture into the society. Universalists versus particularists. I told you last time that Alfonso Trompenaars, a Dutch psychologist, corporate psychologist, who created his own theory of how different nations share the same traits. One of the traits is universalists versus particularists, and I will just explain what it means. He asked one question to the people in different countries, and for example in Europe, he asked the question, your friend is driving a car, you're sitting by next to him, and you're talking, and then a guy appears somewhere, you bump his with a car, and leave this place. What you will do, you will go to police and inform them that your friend had an incident, or if nobody notices it, you protect your friend. And of course, different countries ask this question differently. And usually I ask, what countries in Europe answered this question in one way or another way? Why Europe? Because strictly minded, democratic, organized, regular, the best. What's your opinion? Which country? Or what country voted for one or another.
So if we're, for example, talking about Germany,
What?
so
What?
the answer is definitely yes. So they are...
Go to the police.
Sure.
Yes, and he found out that the Northern Europe voted for universalists. Universalists say, it's not important that he is my friend. There are universal rules that cannot be broken by any person, otherwise we'll be in chaos. The Southern Europe, and you will see that the ones at the south are Catholic, and the guys in the upper are Protestants. They have absolutely different actually cultures, though they are both in Europe, live in Europe. And what the particulars say, you know, there is no such thing as this universal rules. It's my friend. All the life consists of specific situation. And then particulars. I believe that I shall support my friend. Police didn't notice it. I have not much friends. I will support him. To somehow change the situation, he asked another question. If you knew that the victim died, will it change your opinion? And the answer is?
Yes.
Yes. The guys from universities that say, yes, he died. Even I had some doubts, now there's no doubts. I shall go to the police and tell about the crime. The guys from France and Spain, he died? It will not help him. But it's my friend. I have to live with him for decades. That died, we cannot help him. And bringing my friend to prison will not stop something. And I'm talking about Southern and Northern Europeans. When you're talking to Russians, who are Russians? Particularists. They believe that everything consists of special situations. What I am saying, whatever it takes for mama. And you can see, of course, European rules. These painted lines means that you cannot cross it. Russia said, look at me. I crossed it 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. What? Where is the thunder? Why God did kill me? Okay, police will kill you. This fat guy will kill me. He cannot even catch me. And even if he catches me, we will negotiate. If you really wanted that I don't cross the thing, build it in concrete at least 1.5 meters high. Then I understand you didn't want me to cross. It's absolutely understandable. Why this shit? What you want with 2 painted lines? And I'm talking a Russian girl who's management consultant, and he is bringing me from airport to the conference where I will be delivering my lecture. Serbia, it's a disaster. We live in a country with nobody obeys rules. And what? Let's take it and understand how to work with it. No, we should force all of them to obey rules. They ask her. For example, believe it's about 10 p.m. and the pharmacy is closing, and you are standing in a traffic jam, and the pharmacy is next to you, and in 5 minutes it will close. And your mama has a flu and very high temperature. And you either need to go to the traffic lights and wait for this jam, and of course you cross the line, go to the pharmacy, but it's mama. Yes, you're a particularist. Why are you trying to punish 145 million people for their particulars? I've seen a program when a guy was stopped at the Kutuzovsky Prospect. It really, the road to the White House where the president or prime minister says. And people drive with this, along these lines. Stopped, and photographed by a cameraman. Yeah? And what the guy saying? I don't understand why you're punishing me. Why? But you broke the rules. I break the rules only from 8 morning to 9 in the morning. Why? I'm delivering my boss to the office. 23 hours a day. I respect the rules. Why It's a culture. It's cultural code. You are punishing me. Though 24 hours, 23 hours a day. I respect the rules. Why for this 1 hour you are punishing me? And the funny thing is that the normal police guy will negotiate with him. Why? Because he has the right to. These guys are their particularists. They try to understand, will it be good to punish this guy? Maybe he was bringing some pharmacy, some drugs to his mama. It's important. The law is important. The law is important. Mama is important. And, okay, but you will see that even with this barrier high, Russians will try to cross the line. Why? Because when you want innovation, you always cross the line. Because the Academy of Science of Great Britain decided that objects heavier than air cannot fly. And either you cross the lines and you're right brothers, or you don't and nobody knows about you. Breaking rules is bad and inefficient in some cases, and ability to break rules in any situation can be very beneficial in creative, non-linear, connected economy. And usually I love pretty much some guys from Skolkovo Business School or another major business school. They told me how they studied Kaizen. They studied Kaizen, everybody knows Kaizen is perfect. And they said, we came to the plant in Yaroslavl, owned by Deripaska, billionaire. And in 8 or 7 in the morning, we stay closed in a specific way with workers, and we say, Kaizen, Kaizen. I laughed so much. Sergey, why are you laughing? I go, you are idiots, do you know that? But why, Sergey? I go, why at the photo you are not that happy? Oh, the night before that we went and we're not very good. That's Russian. Now believe that the Japanese decided to make their workers more creative and not regular. And they do not allow their workers to come to work before 11 in the morning and just with the baseball bats trying to get away the workers who come at 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning, say, no, creative guys do not come to the enterprise before 11. Then they ask them to drink some vodka, 100 grams or 150 grams. Why? Because I don't need you sober, I need you flexible, creative. And then all of them stand and say, I don't care, fuck the enterprise. Okay, Sergey, but it's very funny. Yes, standing in the 7 in the morning with the Russian workers at this plant and crying Kaizen is also very, very stupid, believe me, absolutely stupid. You are idiots, your teachers are idiots, and so on. You cannot cross. The Russian code means constant search for the limits of possible, degrees of freedom. When you will ask Russian why you broke the rule, he cannot tell you why. Because cultural code, you don't understand. There is new tax. Have you paid it? No, I didn't, and nobody catch me. Why you did it? You need? Sergey, if I could, why shouldn't I? And for example, I run a small company, and we know that the good tax rate is 10%. Why? Because if you go lower, you will be a maverick, they will find out you, and catch you if you try to pay 5% of the turnover or sales. But should you be that stupid that you pay 15 or 20, then everybody pays 10? And then you will see no executive order or some kind of rule. And this is why this is. I worked with a guy who bought this company. It's a Danish company that it's called a harvester machine, which very sophisticated one with a Mercedes-Benz engine and so on. And it cuts trees and delivers it to the car and so on. And it costs several $100,000. Very sophisticated. Then a guy who bought it in Vladivostok or something like that calls him, Andrei, you sold me a bad car? Why? It's broke. Broke. I tried everything to do with it. Never breaks. And I fly to the Far East just to try to imagine what went wrong. And after that, he sees that this
manipulator.
Well, yeah, manipulator is curved. What did you do? I just tried to cut this tree. Wait, why is that big? No, it's just 10% thicker than usual. Yes, 10% thicker, but all in all, it's 2 times heavier. It has a limit of 7 tons, and what you cut is 14 tons. Oh, never imagined that. He was happy. You gave me the good car. But it's 14 tons. Just 10% thicker. Search for the others. Okay. Russians constantly tries any system for the limits of possible. Searching for ways of going beyond limits has a self-generating ontological nature. You don't have to waste time in educating Russians how to search for limits of the system. They do it for free. The best hackers and one of the best hackers in the world are Russians. Why? It's very good to break some sophisticated software in the United States. When you need to hack some software, very expensive, ask for a Russian. There are even culture how the world finds out if the hacker is of Russian nationality. And say, do they use some Russian words? No. Usually, some very basic programs that no Western programmer will ever try to change, can get to it and make it 4 times smaller than the usual thing. And when we see such programs with hackers, we know that's Russian. Nobody else will not try to change some fundamental software that haven't been changed for 20 years. Usually Russian. Such the code plays a negative role in a linear assembly line economy and regular European government. The code gives huge advantages in an innovative, creative economy. Because if you're always late for a job, how you can be late in the internet? You cannot be. All over the world, you will be always on time for a job. And so on. Okay, you may be tired. And another thing is different cultures have different space and time continuum. And this was created by Trompinars, and this one modified by me. What do I mean? With the Russians, it's very difficult that present, future, and past never connected. For example, previous investments, you do not care about them when you write a new program. And when you think of the future and want something new in your company, you just don't care at what you have now. And usually when my clients ask me for a new strategy, I say, can I look at your previous strategy? And I'll find out what went wrong, so that we can, Sergey, I don't want even to speak about previous strategy. It was awful. It was been created by another guy who I don't love. Okay, show me what you have now. I will build on it a new strategy and correct some mistakes. Sergey, I called you because I hate what I have a strategy now. Please, create a new one. It shouldn't be connected. And that's why you know that Russia is a country with unpredictable past. Yeah, we'll even change our understanding of history from time to time. Then I tried to understand the difference, for example, from Anglo-Saxons. And if you will take tenses, you will say that in Russian only 3 tenses and they do not intersect. In English, even my favorite future and the past, you will see that when you are talking about how I thought about the future 5 years ago, you will, in your tenses, specify, determine that you thought 5 years ago about the future. Now you are in the present and you think about the... In Russian you can do the same with just the present tense. And also you have indefinite, continuous, perfect, and so on. And here nothing. And I usually ask, who created the assembly line? These guys or these guys? These guys. Why? They can break any process in 24, 50 steps and connect each other. Russians change history, companies, and strategies like this. Well, no, not connected. And second, we lose the competition because history goes like that? No. History goes like that for a few decades, maybe a century. And after that, it goes in another way. But guys who work with this strategy, they will be running for 2, 3 decades, maybe for 100 years in their own direction because they cannot change the direction. And actually, for example, for you to understand, you will maybe see with the Russian managers, directors, and so on, that if a bird is landing, it can be caught in this sequence. Now, this is how an Anglo-Saxon views it. A Russian sees it like this. First moment, last moment, and between this some miracle, black box. And you will see that they have planning, and then everything goes wrong. Why? They don't care what they have written here. They don't believe in this, they don't see it. It goes as a miracle. And usually the geeks, they have this understanding. But because nobody sees it, they're the geeks. Okay, and when they say Sergey, does it mean that we are more stupid? No, no, no. You will see that the British, the Anglo-Saxons, they say nothing personal very seriously. You will see that in their nouns, they have no personal, how it's called, flexures. In Russia, you will see that we have 7 cases, we have 3 kinds of numbers, singular, dual, and plural. We have 3 genders, we have 3 declinations, and you will see that a noun can have about 142 variations. In English, there is S in genitive, S in plural, and even 1 personal verb in singular third phrase, also S. Very creative, luxurious. This S, I like it. And what I'm saying that in old times, if you will read Shakespeare, you will see that English had these different personal, call it, these parts of the word. But then, century after century, all the flexions were. You will see that in more ancient Russian language, there were more tenses than now. Why? I believe that cultures, as a civilization, their cultural codes change the grammar structure of their language to increase their advantages. And you will see that Russians are very good at fundamental inventions. Why? Because every noun, every essence can have at least 142 connections. But when it comes to mass production, where processes is much more important, Russian can see all the things. I wanted to do it, I did it, I never do it in the future. British will see 24 stages of improving the product. And I say that the Russians are object-oriented thinking, and the Anglo-Saxons are process-oriented thinking. They're very good in dividing process in many stages. Russian cannot see the stages of the process, but can see so much connections of different things between themselves. That's why their invention looks crazy to not geeks. And everything is personal. If here is nothing is personal, we'll see that in the Russian economy, in Russian communication, everything is personal, because we are particulars. Okay. That's how I see the European civilization. This movie was created in 1930 and called like machine culture and machine ideology. What you will see here, what created Europeans and Anglo-Saxons? They say, tell me, can I cut the process of creating some product, some good, in very standard moves. For example, moves forward, rotating, and so on. And they created everything. And what I am telling people that Europeans did not invent something new. In their understanding, the world works like that. They just put into material what they really think and believe. And even their connections, their relations within society goes more and more mechanical, very differentiated, very universal, and so on. Of course, and you will see that they can believe. When we are talking about Russia, are you tired?
Maybe water, tea, coffee.
Water, maybe? No? No, I will, for half an hour maybe I will be still speaking. Maybe some break now? Yes? Okay, you are very patient. I'll be crying an hour ago. Never. Okay, I understand that you are tired, but believe me, for 10 years I was tired trying to find out how Russians began. Another big technologies of decision making and prognosis. All Russians laugh about this Russian hope for the best, which calls avos. Is known as Russian avos. Oh, let's hope for the best. And they say it's a total bullshit, it's not a culture, it's stupid, and so on. I'm a well-educated guy, I know a lot of different theories, and I say, yes, in this situation, when there is low uncertainty, there is one perfect way plan, which means nobody understands the construction, the structure of the word, and the very meaning of plan. For example, creating a business plan, you need to have the starting point and the ending point. And if the situation is changing, the plan cannot be done. Sergey, plan can be done. No, 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 no. Plan is a straight line from starting point to the end point. And the end point cannot change in 5 years or 10 years. And then this guy is fit for this economy. Low uncertainty, no incidents, everything goes by the plan. And this, of course, is a bad thing. Look how this guy is dressed. Not good for business. A horse, a lot of armory, and there's also well-known Russian pictures with this waystone or direction stone, yeah? Which in Russian, you know what Russians say. They say, if you go
To the left?
no, if you go left, you will be beaten. If you go right, you will be beaten. If you go forth, you will be beaten. And move faster, you will be beaten here
Right
in
now.
this place, right now. There is no variation in the Russian story. Yeah. And let's say I specifically use this metaphoric image about railway. The linear economy, the linear order of European civilization in very good with low uncertainty environment. But when the problem with industrialism is crossroads. When all these lines start to intersect, the worst thing you can have here is to plan what you will be doing. Why? You never know from where the train will come. You never know what's the right direction. And you will see that when they say, for example, now, just using the coin, flipping the coin, gives better result in prognosis than all of sophisticated projects and so on. And the worst thing in such environment, creating plans. And I say that the biggest corporation who really work out sophisticated plans go bust. Nokia made a very good plan of development and went bust. Airbus and Boeing, the best companies in the world, created two losing money aircrafts, A380 Airbus and Boeing Dreamliner, that cost so much that they will never be profitable. And hope for the best in this situation, especially if it's an educated guess, it's a very good analytical tool and decision-making instrument. And what I'm saying, hope for the best is managing probabilities in highly uncertain environments. If you understand this cultural code, then you will see that it's a very mathematical approach. And then, why I put this guy here? I said that in the 20th century, Russians at last got a scientific theory for their decision-making. Why? Principle of uncertainty, theory of relativity, and the equation of Schrödinger. These guys actually gave a mathematical background to the Russian decision-making. Why? It was not explained by the linear physics of mathematics. Only when it came to quantum physics, it's understandable how work non-linear, spontaneous communities, nations, or organizations. And hope for the best 2.0. Finally, the Russian soul is not that mysterious. It can be explained by this series. The sixth innovation wave, global economy based on the Russian cultural code. It's my opinion as a Russian, of course. And actually it has three axes. What I want, where I want, and when I want. Oh, Americans say anywhere, anytime, and anything, but you know that with Russians, with self-active people, means what I want. And the problem of the industrial world, where Russians try to come when he wants, where he wants, to what he wants, was a problem. The new world says it's the axiology of the new world. Everybody should behave like that. Finally, we waited long enough to be at the avant-garde of the world economy. And technologies, Google. I search for what I want, where I want, when I want. eBay, I buy what I want, where I want, when I want. YouTube, I watch what I want, where I want, when I want. 3D printer, manufacturing, what I want, when I want, where I want. They say, Sergei, how Russians knew that? We knew it for centuries. We waited for 2,000 years to be effective. That's our time has come. Russian managers should not try to create Germans from Russians. Russians are fantastically fit for the new environment. You will see that machining were more like a railway, when this machine can produce only 1 or 2 operations. This thing doesn't care about the detail of the spare part that it produces. The transport, transport doesn't need roads. Who cares about roads? They say that automobile can go everywhere. No, it goes only where the road is paved, well-paved road. And it's not important if you are the best in producing cars or railways. You can produce these things and be the leader of transportation. When there are guys who said that Russians need to develop a network of roads, do you want to asphalt or to pave all the Siberia? Because nobody is going there. Why put roads there? It's stupid. This kind of transport is much more efficient. But in Europe, Sergei, how important are roads? Yes, this small territory, very plain. Of course, why use jets? In 1997, I negotiated with the British guys the computer for TV programming. And we said we need at least 5 channels. That's okay, why? The state TV has 7 channels, but we're a private company, not that much money. Then we need 5. What for need 5 channels? We have 11-hour belt. Why so much? We're a big country. No, Sergei, why you need these 5 channels? Okay, it takes more time to fly from London to Vladivostok than from London to Tokyo. Why? It's farther away. Sergei, you have, it takes 10 to 11 hours to fly from Moscow to Vladivostok. You have such a slow plane. No, it's a fucking big country. You don't even understand our size. You don't understand, it's a continent, it's not a continent. And of course, this is our transport. This is bullshit. What I want, where I want, where I want. No connections, no wires attached, no power lines attached. The new world say you should get the service where you want, when you want, and so on. Wireless cities, wireless towns, wireless villages. And if you shouldn't be centrally connected, why care about these very sophisticated rules and engineering of these grid networks and so on, if you are self-sufficient? City farmery, or urban farmery as it's called. Why shouldn't grow vegetables where you want? Who cares that usually only the country can do that? Yes, a lot of examples all over the world. When they do what you want, where you want, when you want. And maybe this is the last video clip. It was created some 3, maybe 4 years ago with my friends. We have very few resources, as usual, but a lot of thinking. And I tried to create a video sequence of what I believe Russian cultural codes are. And actually it was made for Russians, because it's now, after all the sanctions, Ukraine and Turkey, the nation is back with self-estimate, understanding it. So some 3-4 years ago, I was over-optimistic and everybody was depressed. And that's why this spontaneous universalization. Погромче, да? Не, погромче, а не. Так. It's new and it's old, very ancient and very creative, luxurious, exuberant, non-linear, something going to the extreme with either decorations or sophistication or in fighting. We are always about something in excess. We are never regular. We are never balanced. It's a culture of being disbalanced, creative, imaginative, idealistic, and so on. But nevertheless, we're a huge industrial country with a lot of industrial potential. We are not Italians or people from Venetia, very good at art, and absolutely nobody in production, in science, or in military. Very sophisticated civilization. And thank you, and welcome to the Russian world that I live in. If you have questions, maybe I will have answers.
Yes, I have a question.
Yeah.
Well, when started the presentation, you said that any culture couldn't be changed. But what if we're talking about the individual culture of a person?